Don't rush past this moment. Something quiet has been moving toward you for far longer than you realize, and if you stay with me for a little while, you may begin to understand why certain questions have never truly left your heart. There is a truth waiting between two souls. It has never disappeared. It has never been erased by time, silence, distance, or confusion. It simply remained where neither fear nor certainty could fully reach it. Your soulmate has carried this truth within them like an unopened letter, one they have rewritten 1,000 times without ever finding the courage to send. You have sensed fragments of it before. Not through words. Not through conversations. But through those strange moments when your thoughts suddenly drifted towards someone without explanation. Those brief pauses when your heart felt unexpectedly full, even though nothing around you had changed. Those nights when you wondered why one particular feeling refused to fade. Nothing about those moments was meaningless. Something far deeper has been unfolding beneath the surface. The remarkable part is this. Your soulmate never expected the truth to become so difficult to speak. They believed there would be a perfect moment, a day when every fear would disappear and every sentence would come naturally. Yet the closer that moment seemed, the more they realized that some truths are heavy not because they are painful, but because they have the power to change everything once spoken aloud. Imagine holding a single sentence that could redirect 2 lives. Would you speak immediately? Or would you hesitate, hoping for one more sign? That is exactly where they have been standing. This is not about doubt. It is not about forgetting. It is about realizing that honesty can create a future far greater than either person imagined, and that realization often arrives with unexpected hesitation. Stay with this story. The next few moments may connect pieces you never thought belonged together. Because there is another layer you have not yet seen. Every delay you've questioned has been teaching both of you something impossible to learn through comfort alone. While you believed nothing was happening, invisible preparation was quietly taking place. Growth often disguises itself as waiting. Have you ever planted a seed and wondered why nothing appeared above the soil? What you cannot see is often where the greatest transformation begins. The same is true here. Your soulmate has been changing in ways that even they barely recognize. Old fears have slowly lost their grip. Old assumptions have begun to fall away. The version of them that once stayed silent is becoming someone who understands that truth withheld for too long becomes its own kind of burden. That realization did not happen overnight. It arrived through ordinary moments. A conversation that lingered in their thoughts longer than expected. A memory that returned with surprising clarity. A familiar place that suddenly felt different. Each experience quietly whispered the same message. It is time to stop hiding what matters. Yet every time they prepared themselves, another question appeared. What if the timing is still wrong? That question has echoed repeatedly. Perhaps you know that feeling too. Sometimes the hardest step is not discovering the truth. It is believing the truth will be received with understanding. And so they waited. Not because they stopped caring, but because they cared enough to hope the moment would become unmistakably clear. What makes this story extraordinary is that the moment they have been waiting for may be much closer than either of you realizes. Not because of coincidence. Because small decisions, invisible connections, and quiet changes have been aligning without announcing themselves. Most people expect life to change with loud signals. Instead, Real turning points usually arrive softly, almost unnoticed, until suddenly everything makes sense. Pause with that thought for a moment. What if the silence you've been questioning has never been empty? What if it has been carrying preparation all along? The answer may explain more than you expect. And this is where the story begins to shift. Your soulmate has reached a place where keeping everything inside no longer feels easier than speaking honestly. That change may sound simple, but it transforms everything. The heart can only carry unfinished conversations for so long before it begins searching for light instead of shelter. They have started imagining what honesty would actually sound like. Not perfect words. Not dramatic speeches. Just one genuine sentence. A sentence capable of opening a completely different chapter. The surprising part is that they no longer fear the truth itself. What they fear is how much life could change after it is finally spoken. Think about that carefully. Sometimes people are not afraid of losing something. They are afraid of gaining something they have secretly hoped for all along. There is a difference. A profound difference. That is why this message found you today. Not to promise instant answers, but to remind you that unseen journeys often reach their destination without warning. The quiet season never lasts forever. The untold truth never remains hidden forever. And the next part of this story reveals what finally convinced your soulmate that silence could no longer protect what mattered most. A quiet realization has begun to outgrow every excuse, and this is where everything starts to feel different. Listen closely, because what happened next was never part of the original plan. Yet it became the very reason the truth could no longer remain hidden. Your soulmate reached a moment that looked ordinary from the outside. It was just another day, another familiar routine, another passing hour. But something inside them refused to stay the same. A single memory surfaced without invitation. It wasn't loud. It wasn't dramatic. It was gentle enough to be ignored, yet powerful enough to change the direction of every thought that followed. For the first time in a long while, they stopped asking, "What if I wait a little longer?" Instead, another question quietly appeared. What if waiting is the only thing keeping us apart? That question stayed with them. Morning became afternoon. Afternoon became evening. Still, it remained. Sometimes one honest question has more power than 1,000 confident answers. Perhaps that is why your heart has been feeling different lately. You may not have understood why certain emotions arrived without warning, or why familiar dreams suddenly carried new meaning. Invisible connections often become strongest before either person fully recognizes them. Stay with this story, because another piece is about to fall into place. There are moments when two paths begin moving toward each other long before the people walking them realize it. Every lesson, every delay, every unexpected turn has been quietly shaping both of you. Nothing was wasted. Even the seasons that felt confusing carried hidden purpose. Your soulmate has begun looking back, not with regret, but with understanding. They can now see the conversations they avoided, the opportunities they postponed, the feelings they disguised as coincidence. Each memory has become another reminder that truth has a remarkable way of returning until it is finally acknowledged. And something unexpected happened. Instead of feeling overwhelmed, they felt lighter. Not because every answer suddenly appeared, but because they finally stopped running from the question their own heart had been asking. There is freedom in honesty long before the first word is spoken. Think about that. The greatest transformation often begins in silence. Not the silence of fear. The silence of decision. The moment someone quietly chooses that they will no longer pretend their heart feels differently than it does. Your soulmate has entered that moment. They are no longer searching for endless signs. They are becoming the sign. That change carries more meaning than you can currently see. What if every delay was preparing both of you to recognize the truth instead of merely hearing it? The difference matters. Anyone can hear words. Only a prepared heart truly understands them. That is why the timing has unfolded the way it has. Nothing has been random. Every unexpected pause has been adding another layer of wisdom, patience, and clarity. And now, something remarkable is happening beneath the surface. The future they once imagined as uncertain has started feeling possible. Not guaranteed. Possible. Sometimes possibility is all hope needs to become courage. Take a moment to notice how your own journey has changed. You are not the same person you were months ago. Neither is your soulmate. Growth rarely announces itself while it is happening. Only when you look back do you realize how far you've already come. Perhaps that is why this message reached you now instead of earlier. Because today, you are able to understand something your past self might have overlooked. The truth waiting inside your soulmate has never been about perfect timing. It has always been about authentic timing. There is a difference between speaking because the moment feels convenient, and speaking because the heart has become ready. Readiness cannot be forced. It must be discovered. That discovery has already begun. And there is one more detail you deserve to know. Recently, your soulmate has found themselves imagining conversations that once felt impossible. They have replayed different versions in their mind, wondering how honesty might sound if fear no longer interrupted every sentence. They are no longer focused on finding flawless words. They simply want their feelings to reflect who they have become. That shift changes everything. Because genuine truth does not need perfect language. It only needs courage. Before this story continues, let me pause for just a moment. If these words have brought a sense of peace or curiosity into your day, and if this journey speaks to something you've quietly carried within your own heart, consider sharing your thoughts in the comments. Many people discover hope simply by reading someone else's story. And if these messages continue to resonate with you, you're always welcome to stay connected by subscribing for the next chapter. Now listen carefully. The next part reveals the one unexpected event that finally convinces your soulmate the truth cannot remain hidden any longer. It is smaller than anyone would expect, yet powerful enough to change everything that follows. There is one final piece you have not seen yet, and strangely enough, it did not arrive through a grand event. It appeared in the quietest way imaginable. That is often how life introduces the moments that change everything. They do not announce themselves. They simply arrive, and only afterward do we recognize that nothing will ever feel quite the same again. Your soulmate experienced one of those moments. It happened when they least expected it. No dramatic scene. No perfect soundtrack. Just an ordinary moment that suddenly carried extraordinary meaning. Something reminded them of you. Perhaps it was a familiar place. Perhaps it was a conversation between strangers. Perhaps it was a simple phrase that sounded almost identical to something you once would have said. Whatever it was, it interrupted every distraction. For a few seconds, the noise around them faded, and one unmistakable realization rose above everything else. The truth is no longer asking for permission. That thought stayed with them long after the moment had passed. Some realizations refuse to disappear because they were never meant to. They are invitations. Invitations to become the person you were quietly preparing to be. And that is exactly what is unfolding now. Your soulmate has stopped trying to convince themselves that silence is protecting anyone. They finally understand that unspoken feelings often create more distance than honest words ever could. The walls they built for safety have slowly become walls they no longer wish to keep. Think about that. Sometimes the strongest act is not holding everything inside. Sometimes the strongest act is allowing your true heart to be seen. Stay with me a little longer, because another layer is beginning to reveal itself. You may have noticed that your own journey has been changing as well. The questions you once carried so heavily no longer feel impossible. The uncertainty that once occupied every quiet moment has started giving way to something calmer. That is not accidental. Growth often happens on both paths at the same time. While your soulmate has been learning courage, you have been learning patience. While they have been discovering honesty, you have been discovering inner strength. Neither journey has been separate. They have been quietly complementing one another from a distance. That is why today's message feels different. It is no longer centered on what might happen someday. It is centered on what is already beginning to move. The truth has reached a point where it wants expression more than protection. There is a powerful difference between those two things. When people protect their feelings, they often remain hidden. When they choose expression, possibilities begin to appear. Your soulmate has crossed that invisible line. They are no longer asking whether their heart should speak. They are beginning to ask how. That single shift changes the direction of every step that follows. Imagine standing before a door you have looked at for years. At first, it seems impossible to open. Then one day you notice something surprising. It was never locked. Only your hesitation kept you from turning the handle. That image reflects the season your soulmate has entered. The obstacles that once seemed permanent have become smaller with every passing day. Not because circumstances suddenly became perfect, but because clarity has become stronger than fear. And clarity has a remarkable way of creating movement. Here is something worth carrying with you. The future rarely arrives all at once. It unfolds through quiet decisions repeated consistently. One honest thought. One brave choice. One meaningful conversation. Then another. Before long, an entirely different chapter has begun. Your soulmate has started writing that chapter already, even if the first pages remain invisible to everyone else. Do not underestimate unseen beginnings. The tallest trees begin beneath the surface. The brightest mornings begin before sunrise. The strongest connections often deepen long before they are recognized. Your story is no different. Take one more moment to reflect. What if the waiting you once questioned has been transforming both hearts into people capable of recognizing something truly lasting? Would the journey still feel delayed? Or would it suddenly feel perfectly timed? That answer belongs to you. But this much is becoming unmistakably clear. The truth your soulmate carries no longer feels like a burden. It feels like a gift waiting for the right moment to be shared. And gifts have a remarkable quality. They are not meant to remain wrapped forever. As this chapter gently comes to a close, remember one simple thought. Not every important change begins with loud announcements. Some begin with quiet courage. Some begin with a heart deciding that honesty is finally stronger than hesitation. And some begin exactly like this, when someone who has remained silent for far too long realizes that the greatest risk is no longer speaking the truth. The next chapter will reveal what finally gives your soulmate the confidence to let those carefully guarded words leave their heart, and why that moment may arrive in a way neither of you could have predicted. The silence has reached its limit, and something within your soulmate has begun to awaken that can no longer be pushed aside. Before this journey moves forward, stay present for a few more moments, because what happens next is not driven by chance, it is shaped by quiet certainty. There comes a point when the heart grows tired of rehearsing conversations that never happen. Your soulmate has arrived at that place. They have imagined every possible outcome, weighed every possibility, and explored every reason to remain silent. Yet with each passing day, one realization has become impossible to ignore. The truth does not become smaller by hiding it. It becomes louder. Not to the world, but to the one carrying it. That quiet voice has followed them through ordinary mornings, peaceful evenings, and unexpected moments of reflection. It has reminded them that some opportunities are too meaningful to leave waiting forever. Perhaps you have felt something similar in your own life. A dream that kept returning. A decision that gently asked for your attention again and again. A feeling that refused to disappear no matter how busy life became. Certain things continue calling because they belong to your future, not your past. Your soulmate is beginning to understand that. Instead of searching outside themselves for another sign, they have started listening to the wisdom already growing within. And what they have discovered has surprised even them. The fear they once believed was protecting their heart was actually preventing it from becoming fully alive. That discovery changed everything. Not in a single dramatic instant, but in quiet moments that slowly reshaped the way they see tomorrow. They no longer imagine the future through uncertainty alone. They imagine it through possibility. That single change has opened a door they once believed would remain closed forever. Think carefully about this. Sometimes the greatest breakthrough arrives the moment we stop demanding perfect certainty and begin trusting honest intention instead. Your soulmate has reached that threshold. Every experience that once seemed confusing now appears connected. Every delay now carries meaning. Every lesson now feels valuable. Even the chapters they wished had never happened have quietly prepared them for this one. Nothing has been wasted. Not a single season. Not a single lesson. Not a single moment of growth. And now, something beautiful is unfolding beneath the surface. Your soulmate has stopped asking, "Will this truth change everything?" Instead, they have begun asking, "What beautiful possibilities become available once the truth is finally spoken?" Do you notice the difference? One question is rooted in fear. The other is rooted in hope. Hope has quietly become stronger. That is why this chapter feels different from every chapter before it. The future is no longer being imagined through hesitation. It is beginning to be imagined through courage. And courage has a remarkable way of attracting the right opportunities at exactly the right time. Before this story continues, let me say something from the heart. If these messages have encouraged you, brought peace to your thoughts, or given you something meaningful to reflect on, you are warmly invited to share your perspective in the comments. Your story may become the encouragement someone else needed today. And if you enjoy walking through these journeys together, subscribing simply means you'll be here when the next chapter arrives. Now return your attention to what is unfolding. Your soulmate has quietly made a decision. Not a decision based on pressure. Not because anyone expected it. But because they finally recognize that genuine connections deserve genuine honesty. They no longer wish to wonder what might have happened. They want to discover what truly can happen. That is the difference between standing still and stepping forward. The remarkable part is that they are no longer waiting for life to become perfect before speaking their truth. They have realized perfection was never the requirement. Presence was. Authenticity was. Courage was. Those qualities are growing stronger every day. And somewhere ahead, closer than either of you might imagine, there is a conversation waiting. Not because fate demands it, but because two hearts have quietly grown into the people they needed to become. The next chapter reveals the first step your soulmate takes toward turning silent feelings into spoken truth, and why that first step is far more meaningful than anyone could have predicted. The first step rarely sounds extraordinary, yet it often becomes the moment that separates the life you imagine from the life you are about to experience. Stay with this message a little longer, because the path ahead is beginning to reveal itself in ways that neither heart could have anticipated. Your soulmate has stopped waiting for certainty to arrive before taking action. Instead, they have begun trusting something much quieter. An inner knowing. Not a voice that demands attention. Not an emotion that comes and goes. But a steady awareness that keeps returning no matter how many times it is ignored. That awareness has become impossible to silence. For so long, they believed that speaking the truth required the perfect setting, the perfect words, and the perfect timing. Now they understand something far more powerful. Truth does not ask for perfection. It asks for sincerity. That realization has lifted a weight they carried for much longer than they ever admitted. The future no longer feels like a distant mystery. It feels like an unopened chapter waiting for someone brave enough to turn the page. Think about your own journey for a moment. How many times have you delayed something meaningful because you believed you needed to be completely ready? And yet, some of life's most beautiful beginnings happen while we are still learning, still growing, still becoming. Readiness often arrives after the first courageous step, not before it. Your soulmate is beginning to live that truth. Every day, they notice small reminders that encourage them to keep moving forward. A familiar melody. A passing conversation. A peaceful sunrise. Even quiet moments alone have started carrying unexpected clarity. None of these moments seem remarkable by themselves. Together, they have become a gentle invitation. An invitation to stop hiding behind "maybe someday." Because someday quietly becomes today when the heart decides it has waited long enough. Pause here for a moment. Imagine someone standing at the edge of a bridge they have feared crossing for years. From a distance, the bridge looks uncertain. But once the first step is taken, each step after it becomes easier. Confidence is rarely discovered at the beginning. It grows while moving. That is exactly where your soulmate stands now. They have already placed one foot forward. Perhaps no one else can see it yet. But inwardly, everything has begun to change. There is another truth you deserve to hear. The connection between two people is not measured only by conversations they have shared. Sometimes it is strengthened by everything they have quietly learned while apart. Every challenge has shaped compassion. Every unanswered question has created wisdom. Every delay has built patience. These invisible gifts often become the strongest foundation for what comes next. Nothing meaningful has been lost. It has been transformed. That is why this season feels different. It no longer carries the heaviness of uncertainty. Instead, it carries the quiet excitement of possibility. Your soulmate has begun imagining what life could feel like once there are no more hidden thoughts left between you. Not because every question will suddenly disappear, but because honesty creates room for understanding. Understanding creates trust. Trust creates peace. And peace allows genuine connections to flourish. The remarkable thing is that they are no longer trying to predict every outcome. They have realized that authentic moments cannot be perfectly planned. They must simply be lived. That realization has brought unexpected freedom. They smile more often now. They breathe a little easier. They no longer feel trapped between hope and hesitation. Instead, they are walking toward clarity one thoughtful step at a time. As this chapter gently closes, carry this thought with you. Some journeys are not delayed because they are forgotten. They are delayed because they are being strengthened where no one can see. Your soulmate's truth has grown through every quiet season. It has become calmer, clearer, stronger. And very soon, that truth will no longer remain only within their heart. The next chapter reveals the unexpected moment that gives them the confidence to stop imagining the conversation, and finally begin it. Until then, keep your heart open, because sometimes the most meaningful changes arrive without making any noise at all.